wife cheated on me, but it made me happy. I, 26 male, have been married to my wife, 26 female, Lana, for 8 years now. I met her 16 years ago in elementary school. We started dating in middle school and slept together for the first time in high school. In our young minds, we thought we were absolutely in love. Nothing would tear us apart. By the way, this comes from Burner X Satisfied, and if you want to submit your own stories, go to the r/OKStorytime subreddit. So, I grew up in Georgia as a Baptist, where there's a kind of weird Christian attitude about spicy stuff and all that. I don't know. I've never really been religious, and neither has my wife. We didn't really care, but my parents did. They always got on my back that if I was having spicy sleep with this girl, I had to marry her. Her parents weren't as strict about it, but essentially I was forbidden from seeing her. My parents told me at 17 that I would be punted out of the house if I didn't marry Lana. Looking back now, I don't think they would have gone through with leaving me on the streets for not breaking up with a girl. I'm pretty sure they were trying to manipulate me into living the life they wanted for me. So we got a courtroom marriage. Her parents were cool with it. They had 3 kids to a room and were glad to have more space in the house. We always talked about having a real wedding one day, but with everything going on in life, we just never got around to it. I got to be married at 18 to the love of my life and still go to finish high school and live with my parents. Since then, I've gotten a lot of therapy. I realized just how horrible it was for my parents, religious or not, to force their own child to get married so that he wouldn't disappoint Jesus by having spicy sleep with one person. It's not like I was even trying to follow any of their other standards. Let's fast forward to the present day. A few years later, we moved out into our own dingy little apartment. I got a job apprenticing to a plumber to pay rent, but neither me nor Lana could afford school, and my dad was only willing to pay if I went to church college or something. I've considered it many times, but it's whatever. Eventually, I kind of just stopped loving Lana. It's not that she stopped being physically attractive to me or anything. It's just that over the years, she did basically nothing. She never got a job. She never did work around the house. Most days, she would just play video games, smoke devil's lettuce with me, and then we'd pass out or have spicy sleep. She didn't cook, didn't clean. Hell, I even had to do the laundry after work at midnight some nights just so I'd have something to wear in the morning. I felt trapped. I wanted to divorce her so badly. I talked to her about changing so many times that I feel like I had the same conversation over and over and over. She'd get a job and quit after a month. She'd cook 3 meals in an entire week and then stop for months. These aren't things you find out about a woman in high school. So we started to get a little distant. Spicy sleep reduced to once a month, if that. We didn't even hang out most nights. When I'd come home, she'd be sleeping or way too baked to hold a decent conversation with. In the morning, she would go to Starbucks for coffee and some other baked goods. Sometimes she'd get something for me, sometimes not. Why didn't I divorce her? Well, honestly, it was just about alimony. I could barely afford to pay rent as it is, but divorcing her, I know she'd get some kind of share of the money I already have an issue keeping. With everything about my parents, I wasn't willing to move in with them, so I just felt trapped where I was. I know of too many stories where people get a divorce and have to pay alimony for the rest of their lives, and that just seems like too much for me to handle. One day, while out on the job, I had a panic attack because of everything going on and decided to go home early. I live 5 minutes away from where I was working. I texted Lana on the way home that I would be there soon. Lana answered the door in her lingerie, nearly out of breath. Well, that was suspicious already, but there was no one in the apartment, so I didn't think anything of it immediately. Thought maybe she was having some alone time and the lingerie helped her get in the mood or something. But that night, it ate at me. I didn't voice any concerns to her. I just let it eat away at me. The next morning, I called in sick without telling Lana, drove off, and snuck back to our apartment complex. I watched our apartment until I saw a Jeep roll up and a man walked out. He walked up to our first floor apartment and Lana opened the door and let him in. This wasn't a man I'd ever seen before, but I knew what was going on. I went into my apartment, burst into the bedroom to see them already unclothed with each other, and took some pictures. Ignoring her cries, I packed up a bag with any clothes I could find and left. Why am I happy about this? I live in Georgia, where adultery is considered a crime and no alimony for cheaters. I felt like I had the entire world ahead of me as I drove away. I know I need a lawyer. I know I need to cover my tracks and all of that. She doesn't use Reddit, so she won't see this, but man, sometimes it's good to be cheated on. First off, I've already been meeting with a lawyer about everything. She says the case is pretty cut and dry, and I should be able to get away without any alimony as long as I present this affair unalive my marriage attitude about it. She's helping me draft up my divorce papers now. I also saw a doctor and am currently awaiting test results for STDs and STIs. Doctor thinks they'll come back negative based on lack of symptoms, but you know how it is. On to the good stuff. When I drove away, my phone was ringing like crazy. Obviously, I didn't answer it. I didn't want to hear from her. I called up a friend of mine, grew up going to the same church as him, great guy, currently working on becoming a pastor for the church I used to go to with him. I told him everything, and he invited me to stay with him until the whole thing is settled. He also encouraged the divorce, telling me I need to take it easy for a while. I didn't block Lana on anything. I'd usually just let the phone ring about a dozen times in an hour and then move on with my day. I've been applying for jobs all over the world because honestly, I just want to get out of here. I honestly have no idea what I want to do with my life anymore because before all I did was just make money to support myself and Lana financially. Never really thought about a life without her until now, TBH. Of course, a few fantasies here and there in passing, but nothing like definite. I really like animation though. Maybe that. I don't know. About 3 days later, I caved. I answered the phone during one of Lana's many attempts to contact me. We spoke on that phone for a few hours about, well, everything. Life, our lives together, etc. I kept the impression that I'm just a heartbroken man who wants to end the marriage because she cheated and for no other reason. But the conversation went a little deep. Honestly, there really is part of me that still loves this woman from the bottom of my very soul. Most of my life has been spent with her and it's just kind of over, you know? She told me about the guy after I hesitantly asked. He was just a random guy she met on a hookup app. Her depression was starting to border on self-harming, and she thought that if she cheated, it might bring some excitement back into her life. She admitted that it did for the first couple of times, but after that, it grew just as stale as the rest of her life. It was over 3 months that she cheated with random guys, always with protection, and she would usually get an STD test after moving on to the next guy. I'm still very happy she did what she did so I could move on with my life, but I feel like I failed as a husband completely. She told me she thinks she failed as a wife and doesn't blame me for wanting a divorce after this. Lana said after a few days she's going to move out of the apartment so that I can move back in since I'm the one paying for it. It's been years since her parents were overwhelmed with too many kids in the house, so she's going to move back in with them and start over on her life too. I can say I'm still happy about everything going on. I'm looking forward to the future, and I'm happy to still be young in this situation. And I'm happy that my financial status will be okay for the foreseeable future. But this person, who was my best friend, closest confidant, and who my entire life was devoted to, is just gone. My life feels completely empty, more than it did when I was with her. I'm gonna reach out to a therapist again, get this all sorted in my head before I maybe leave the country. Crazy thought in my head is that maybe in a few years, if Lana can get her crap together, I could go back to her. Try again with her. But for now, I'm gonna live a single life. I'm not going on any dates with any women for a long time. It's gonna be hard enough having to learn how to even do that. But you know, that's the excitement. Learn